everybody, and welcome to our 16th episode of the Nature Connects Us webinar. I'm Katie Hawk, and I'm your host today. I'm here live out at Corpus Christi at Mustang Island down in South Texas. Here they have green sea turtles, and the Turtle Patrol was out this morning looking for their tracks and their nest. It was so exciting. So obviously today's topic is sea turtles. And what on earth does that have to do with Oklahoma? We've got some really special guests for everyone today. We have an Oklahoman, native Oklahoman right here with us, and she's actually in Florida. She'll be broadcasting live from where she does sea turtle rescue. Her name is Pam O'Halloran Blevins, and she does volunteer work for MOTE to help save sea turtles. We also have another special guest with us, and that's Sarah Martin. She's been with the Nature Conservancy for 7 years, and she's a sea turtle biologist. She's been doing work down on Hobe Sound in Florida at the Blowing Rocks Preserve to help save sea turtles. So she's going to share a lot with us about their program. Before we get started, though, we want to know, where are you broadcasting from? Where are you joining us from? Find the chat button down on your screen and text us. Let us know. We want to know who we're talking to today. So while you do that, we're going to get our system set up. Oh, looks like we've got Iowa, War Acres, Oklahoma, Kansas City, North Carolina. Wow, thanks for joining us, Carol from North Carolina. All kinds of folks are joining us today. All right, so while y'all text that in, I'm going to get Pam's presentation ready. She's going to be our first one to join us. Hang on one moment. Pam is going to kick us off here. We've got folks from all over, from Florida, from Oklahoma, more folks from Florida. Laura and Eric, thanks for joining us today. All kinds of people. So thank you so much, everybody. All right, so we're going to get Pam's presentation up on the screen now. And she's going to kick us off and tell us all about her volunteer experience helping to save sea turtles.
MOTE's Sea Turtle Conservation and Research Program includes staff, interns, and volunteers who document sea turtle nesting activity from May 1st to October 31st. They've done this for more than 3 decades along 35 miles of Sarasota County beaches. Their findings contribute to the statewide understanding of nesting trends. There are 7 species of sea turtles. Only 4 of those species of sea turtles nest on our Gulf Coast. This is a green sea turtle, named for the green color of the fat under its shell. It is endangered. Their grazing improves the growth of seagrass beds, which are important nurseries for many fish and crabs. They were hunted so intensively for their meat and eggs that by 1970, they were almost extinct in Florida. The Kemp's Ridley, next slide. The Kemp's Ridley is the rarest and smallest species of sea turtles and is critically endangered. These sea turtles nest together by day in groups of hundreds of thousands of turtles, known as an arrabata. From their crushing and foraging behaviors, loggerheads contribute to nutrient cycling on the ocean floor. They carry many reefs on their backs, sponges, algae, and small crustaceans attached to the turtle's broad shells. Certain species of barnacles live nowhere else. The leatherback are the largest turtles alive. Their shells have tough, rubbery skin covering thousands of tiny bone plates. Leatherbacks may be seen offshore in Florida and have important nesting sites on the East Coast. Last summer, we had 4 leatherback nests on our beaches. They had not been seen in our area, the Gulf of Mexico, for the last 19 to 20 years. Turtle Patrol. These are my Longboat Key Turtle Watch mentors, Jeff and Terry Driver. The tools we use include identification badges, yellow stakes, hammers, GPS, tape measure, marking pens, buckets, cloth trash bags, identification photos, and building addresses, and a journal for data recording. It's a lot to carry early in the morning, too. Loggerhead tracks are the most common sea turtles that nest on the beach of the Gulf. This is what their tracks look like and what we look for as we walk the beach on turtle patrol. They have alternating comma-shaped flipper marks. Green turtle tracks. The green sea turtle tracks have parallel flipper marks with a thin, straight, and well-defined tail drag in the middle of the crawling pattern. Leatherback has huge parallel flipper marks that measure 6 to 7 feet wide in width with a thin, straight, and well-defined tail drag. Leatherbacks are the largest sea turtles with the largest nest. We were so excited to see their nest on our beaches since they've not nested here since around 2000. Unfortunately, none of those eggs were fertile. Females cup their rear flippers and use them to shovel out sand, creating a tear-shaped city to deposit their eggs in. An average nest size ranges from 50 to 130 eggs, depending on the species. Eggs will hatch in about 60 days, but incubation time will vary depending on temperature. Warmer temperatures produce females, cooler temperatures produce males. So we have cool daddies and warm, hot mamas. A false crawl is when a female sea turtle comes ashore but returns to the water without nesting. This can occur naturally or happen when there is a disturbance, such as artificial lighting. And there are several ways that you can track a turtle. Moat uses these three systems. They can attach a tracking tag while the turtle is nesting. They can attach a satellite transmitter to the turtle's shell, or they can attach a flipper tag. This is the scientific method in the real world. Tracks, body cavities, or tags. Turtle Patrol volunteers walk and monitor their zone 1 or more days a week from 6 a.m. to sometimes 11 a.m. These are fun things we see along the walk during Turtle Patrol. Tracks and ghost crabs, body cavities, and pretty cool art. On their journey to the ocean, hatchlings can encounter many predators, like this ghost crab here. Sea turtles hatch and crawl towards the light on the horizon of the ocean. Artificial lights from the shore can disorient hatchlings and cause them to crawl away from the ocean instead of towards it. As soon as they reach the water, the hatchlings swim for 24 to 48 hours. This is called a swim frenzy. Once they reach the ocean, hatchlings have to watch out for open water, predators such as large fish. The hatchlings head for offshore ocean currents and the sargassum weed line, where they will be safe and safer from the coastal predators. The hatchlings survive on oak preserves and do not eat until they reach the weed line. Once they get to the sargassum mats, the young sea turtles will remain there for the next 7 to 15 years. During these years, young sea turtles live far from shore and are rarely seen, giving this time in their lives the nickname the lost years. Florida hatchlings depend on the Earth's magnetic field to help them find the currents that will take them to the safety of the Sargasso Sea that's located entirely within the Atlantic Ocean and is the only sea without a land boundary. One of its corners is Bermuda, that is located on the western fringes. In the first photo are hatchling tracks with bird prints next to them, indicating that most likely they didn't make it to the shore. Then there are what our staked nests look like all along our beach. And this is me holding a bucket full of rescued turtles. These were the last 3 baby hatchlings our team saved before heading back to Oklahoma last summer. They were tangled up in the root system of the plants when we excavated their nest. Hatchlings have 3 days to make it to the sea before their stored energy runs out. The nests are usually excavated 3 days after their tracks are observed. Some fun facts. A baby sea turtle is so small when it hatches, it can fit in the palm of your hand. In 30 years, hatchlings will return to their same beaches to lay eggs. Only 1 out of 1,000 hatchlings will grow up and come back to the nest. The gender of the turtle is determined by the temperature of the sand. Hatchlings can be hospitalized for fire ant bites, injuries from predators, being found in the nest when excavated, becoming disoriented and traveling away from the sea, or being weak and unable to swim past waves, suffering from exhaustion. While the hatchlings are in the hospital at Moat, they eat tiny pieces of shrimp and receive a calcium supplement. Once hatchlings can dive, eat, and injuries have healed, they are taken by boat offshore to the weed line and released. So here's some things that you can do to help us when you're on the shore. You can, if you encounter a nesting turtle or hatchling, remain quiet and observe from a distance. Shield or turn off the outdoor lights that are visible on the beach from May through October. Close drapes after dark and put furniture as far back as you can from the water. Fill in holes that may entrap hatchlings on their way to the water. Things not to do. Please don't approach nesting turtles or hatchlings. They make noise or shine lights at the turtles. Use flashlights or fishing lamps on the beach. Don't encourage a turtle to move while nesting or pick up hatchlings that have emerged and are heading for the water. And please don't use fireworks on the beach. That's pretty hard on the 4th of July. Here's one of my favorite exhibits that visited the Moat several years ago. Art to Save the Sea is a nonprofit organization that creates vivid sculptures made from ocean garbage and debris to educate about plastic pollution in our oceans and waterways. We were fortunate enough to have this at our Tulsa Zoo in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thank you so much for caring. Here are some excellent resources from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, Moat Sea Turtle Conservation and Research, and Longboat Key Turtle Watch. Thanks so much. That concludes my presentation, and now I'd like to turn it over to Sarah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Martin, and I am the South Florida Land Conservation Manager based at Blowing Rocks Preserve for the Florida chapter of the Nature Conservancy. I am excited to be here today to talk to you all about some of our sea turtle work at Blowing Rocks Preserve, located in Hobe Sound, Florida on Jupiter Island. So Blowing Rocks Preserve, we are a 73-acre nature preserve in Hobe Sound, Florida on Jupiter Island, and we do a lot of different kinds of land stewardship work at the preserve to make sure that our habitat is healthy for sea turtles and all sorts of different types of wildlife that utilize the preserve. And some of our goals for sea turtles are outlined in some of our work that we do to make sure that we are reaching those stewardship goals, including imperiled species management, and sea turtles are imperiled species. And a lot of different types of wildlife use the preserve at Blowing Rocks Preserve. And so we are pretty busy with our stewardship work, doing everything from invasive species management to marine debris cleanup, all sorts of different types of activities we do to make sure the preserve is in the healthiest possible condition for all sorts of wildlife, including sea turtles. So Blowing Rocks Preserve, how does our stewardship work? How does that all work here at Blowing Rocks? Well, the preserve itself was protected in 1969 by residents who saw the most important value of this piece of land here in South Florida. It's on a coastal barrier island. We have 1 mile of ocean and Indian River Lagoon shoreline. and a natural rock feature, the Anastasia limestone rock formation that has large outcroppings that run along the beach of the preserve. And this place is very special, and that was recognized by those residents who protected it in 1969. And today we work with that land to ensure that it is in the healthiest condition possible for our wildlife and for people who come in and join nature. And so our stewardship work is everything from all of that hands-on work that we do, education and outreach, our science and research, and working with our partners and our neighbors to really make sure that our preserve is in the healthiest condition possible, and that we can also help others maintain their land in the same way. So Blowing Rocks Preserve, we have that 1 mile of ocean shoreline along the Atlantic Ocean, and it is a very very densely nested beach by sea turtles. And as you can see in this video, if it's I hope it can play, every morning in our summer months, from about March, sometimes earlier, depending on the turtles, through about October, we have hundreds of sea turtle nests that come to the preserve from the ocean and climb up onto our beach to nest and to lay eggs on our beaches. So as you can see there, that's an early morning loggerhead sea turtle who's returning to sea after she's nested. We like to think that the sea turtles really like our preserve because it is in such natural wild condition, and that it has everything that the sea turtles need in order to nest successfully. These turtles can take, sometimes 25 years or more to reach sexual maturity. So it's really impressive to see a mature adult sea turtle in that life phase out there on the beach doing its nesting. So as you can see, we've got data that goes back to 1989 that demonstrates the 3 species of sea turtles that primarily nest at the preserve and the types of numbers that we are seeing. So the leatherback sea turtles nest first on our beaches. They are the ones that we see the least amount of, although they're very important for us. We get green sea turtles each year, and we get loggerhead sea turtles each year. And so far for the 2021 nesting season, we've had over 300 loggerhead sea turtle nests, more than 100 green, and 10 leatherback nests documented, and the season is not yet over. So we do a lot of different types of work at Blowing Rocks Preserve. Maintaining the habitat is number one. It is super essential for us to make sure that that habitat is in the best condition for the wildlife. And we do that through a variety of our stewardship activities. But we also are pretty hands-on with some of the sea turtles that come to the preserve. We have a sea turtle rescue stranding and response team, because each year, as we get turtles that nest at the preserve, we also have turtles that can sometimes come ashore that are sick or injured, sometimes, unfortunately, that haven't made it. And we've got to respond to those turtles as well. But also because of our unique natural rock formation, we get several turtles a year that actually get stuck in those rocks, and we need to return them back to sea. So we work with our internal team at TNC, but also with our partners, the rehabilitation hospitals, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, under our stranding and salvage permit, to ensure that sea turtles that are in need of any kind of a response are responded to swiftly, and that they can either be released back into the wild if they're healthy and that is the correct thing to do, or to have them put on out to rehabilitation with a rehabilitation partner so that they can receive the care they need in order to be released at a later date if possible. So this is a very hands-on and kind of dirty job. We get out there, and these turtles are heavy, hundreds of pounds, and they really, it's very impressive to see them up close, but it's also a reminder about how special they are, and to see them, when they're sick and injured, how important it is for us to respond to them and to ensure that they get the care they need. So we have a lot of different supplies that we utilize for our sea turtle rescue program. We have some supplies that we have acquired over time that we've found useful, and those include things like measuring tapes and calipers to measure. We have little notebooks for our volunteers to document any of their observations that they've made for hatchlings that they might have rescued, for instance, and other wildlife observations, but also stretchers and slings and different things for transporting sea turtles. And we even have some watercraft so that we can respond to turtles in the water if needed. There are a lot of different threats to sea turtles. As you all know, climate change is a huge one for us, but there are a lot of things that that impact them that, you know, we can take immediate action in our life right now as well on. And those include, you know, reducing our plastics and marine debris that we're putting out into the world, you know, working to ensure that we have the least amount of artificial lighting on the beach and things like that. And so some of the things that we recommend to be a sea turtle ally out there. So obviously, you know, if you can join a beach cleanup or a habitat cleanup in your area. So if you don't live near a beach, you can still get out to your local natural area and help clean up. It helps any kind of wildlife. And if you are near the ocean, you know, being a safe boater, wearing polarized sunglasses, being real careful and slowing down when you're in those nearshore waters, especially during the nesting season. Yeah, fight climate change and spread the message, please. Let's see here. So this is just, I know we're running short on time, but a turtle that we rescued this season in June. It had, you know, it washed ashore and it had fishing line that it had been entangled in and some injuries. And so we worked together with our partners from the Loggerhead Marine Life Center to get it off of our beach as swiftly and safely as possible. And then they transported it to their wildlife hospital where they're currently rehabilitating it. And if you would like to see the status of that turtle, you can follow that link there and you can see how she's doing. They named her Koa. Some of our researchers that are doing active sea turtle research at the preserve include the Florida Leatherbacks Incorporated Research Group, who do incredibly important research on leatherback sea turtles in our region to better understand their sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, their natural life cycle so that we can do better conservation for them. And this is a time-lapse video that they provided showing just how densely nested our beach is here at the preserve during a typical night during the height of the season. It's a very cool video that Florida Leatherbacks provided. Time-lapse, of course. And we have other researchers too who are working in our area to study the different conservation needs of sea turtles in our region, including the In-Water Research Group, who's been doing work to study our area for vessel strike mortality vulnerability. I think that's the next slide. And their work is still preliminary, but they're doing some active research in our region to better understand some of the sea turtle work that is needed in our area for conservation. And really my takeaway message is that it really is essential for us as land stewards and just general people to always to continue to investigate and understand what our wildlife, you know, how they're utilizing our preserves and sites, to what extent, and you know, that helps inform our stewardship work and what we do at the preserves to make sure that they're healthy for the future. and it informs our land management planning, our imperiled species management planning, and helping us improve our stewardship work for the future. And that's a wrap for now. Hopefully we'll have more for you all next season. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah and Pam. That was wonderful. We learned a lot about sea turtles today, everyone. And we are going to have a moment now where we get to find out even more. You may have some lingering questions after hearing from Pam and Sarah, and you just want to know, you want to be able to ask those questions. So now's your chance. If you look on your screen, look below and find the Q&A button. If you don't see it immediately, you might see a button with 3 dots. You can click it, and there might be that Q&A button there, okay? Find the Q&A button. That is where you're going to type in your questions. Everybody open up that Q&A button, even if you don't have a question, because the way we select which questions we're going to ask are the ones with the most votes. So go on in, check out the questions, add a question, vote for questions, and that's how we're going to determine which ones we're going to be able to hear out during our limited time with Pam and Sarah. I almost switched their names around and it was getting ready to be Sam and Tara. So I have a weird, strange habit of switching those consonants around. So anyway, Pam and Sarah are ready for your questions. So get those into the Q&A function there and get those rolling. Just a quick update, right? So we've had several questions through the chat already. People are asking about donating. How can you help us out? There are 2 options. You can go to mote.org and donate to that program that Pam volunteers for, or you can go to nature.org and contribute to the sea turtle rescue program that Sarah works for. We'll provide a direct link also here in just a moment to both those websites. I may have already put them in the chat, but we'll be sure to put those in there as well. So I'm seeing the Q&A button questions coming in, and also looking to see which ones have the most votes here. So let me pull this up. All right, and as many of you know, I am transitioning out of Nature Conservancy. My last day is October 1st, so this is my last webinar, and I'm just really grateful to get to share it with you all, and with Sarah and with Pam, and to talk about sea turtles. So, all right, we've got our first question here, and this is from Carol, and this is for you, Pam. Carol wants to know, have you found any leatherback nests this year?
None this year. We don't have any leatherbacks this year. It was last year we had the 4 and the nests were huge, but none of the eggs were fertile. But no leatherbacks this year so far. They're usually on the East Coast. I think Sarah probably has most of them.
Yeah. Sarah, do you have leatherbacks there this year?
We do. Each season, we get around 10 leatherback nests, give or take, which actually is pretty good for having only 1 mile of ocean shoreline. It's pretty impressive.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Jeanette is asking. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. What was that?
I was just saying their nests are very big.
Are they? Oh, wow. I imagine so. Right, our next question comes from Jeanette. She's asking, how long can the adult sea turtles be on shore, out of the water, and still stay healthy? Pam or Sarah, would you like to take that one?
I'm not sure if I heard all of it, but how long do they stay on shore when they're nesting? Is that
how long can an adult sea turtle be on the shore and out of the water and stay healthy?
Well, we have the opportunity every summer. We haven't been able to last summer, this summer because of the pandemic, but we were able to observe one of our mothers coming in to nest, and they're in a real trance-like state when they're coming in. So they're on a mission. And it took about an hour. They just came in, found their perfect place, started digging with those back flippers. And the one that I observed the last summer that I was able to observe, it looked like even a shark had taken a bite out of the back flipper, and it didn't slow that mom down at all. She just dug that nest, and then hundreds or so eggs. They're very, very pliable and just real bouncy. And they just all bounced in. And then she started covering up and turning a little bit, covering up, turning, covering up, turning. And about an hour later, she was able just to walk back out. It took about an hour.
Wow, very nice. Thank you for sharing, Pam. Sarah, do you have any information you want to expand upon that with?
Oh, you're muted.
Thanks.
Quote of the year.
I agree with Pam for sure. They are definitely on a mission. They kind of come up and do their thing and then go. When they're stuck out on our beach and need to be either transported to rehab or released back out into the ocean, we really are trying to get them back out there as quickly as possible, or to where they need to go as quickly as possible. Because when they come up, it's cooler temperatures in the night. And it can get very hot during the day, and even for people who are working out there trying to get them. So, we really do try to get them to where they need to be as quickly as possible. They're not really meant to be left out on the land too long.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate that. Oh, we've got a challenge for you all. All right. We're going to have both of you answer this if you would like. Patsy is asking, in one sentence, why are sea turtles so important?
Oh, wow. I can't think of one reason. I think so many reasons.
You get one sentence. So if you can lump several reasons into one sentence.
As a citizen scientist, I think they're so important to teach us about our Earth's magnetic field and the migration patterns of the turtles coming in and out. It is just an amazing adventure.
Good job, Pam. All right, Sarah, your turn.
I think that they're wonderful ambassadors for coastal and marine conservation. We all love sea turtles, and they represent habitats that really truly need us to care about them. And so I'm going more than one sentence here, but if we care about the sea turtle, we care about all of the things that the sea turtle needs as well. The oceans and the beaches, and it reminds us we need to be good stewards.
Yes. Fantastic. I could have totally made that into one sentence for you, Sarah. Just a couple of parentheses and some extra commas. We'd have been good. So you nailed it.
I'm a rambler. I try not to. So.
You did great. Thank you. Patsy, thank you for the challenging question. That was wonderful. All right. So Sarah, a new question for you. How do we know what is turtle safe seafood? Good question.
Oh, that's a good question. That comes from NOAA Fisheries has, that is a recommendation for being good to sea turtles and their habitat. And there are a lot of good resources online, different sea turtle groups that have recommendations about, seafood that is more sea turtle friendly, whether it's, it has to do with different fishing practices and things like that, where sea turtles are less vulnerable. But I encourage you to go online and there's some good resources out there for sustainable seafood.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Bob is asking, are red flashlights allowed on the beach?
I think that I know when we go and observe the turtles coming in for their nesting, the biologists there, none of us are able to have our flashlights with us. But the biologist always has an infrared, either light or a headlight.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Sarah, anything to add to that?
At Blowing Rocks Preserve, the preserve itself is actually not, the visiting hours are only between 9 and 4:30. So all of those key moments when the sea turtles are coming to do their nesting and hatching, we're actually not even open to the public. So that really ensures the privacy that the turtles need to do that in part of their life cycle. But on beaches that are public and open, of course, you want to follow the local ordinances, and anything that is an artificial type of light you don't want to bring on the beach. There are different types of lights that are approved that the biologists use, but generally I encourage folks to just, give sea turtles their space for that critical life moment. If you see them out on the beach, you don't want to, they're federally protected species, so we don't want to go near them.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you sharing that. Beth is asking, Sarah, what is the oldest returning turtle to Blowing Rocks?
That's a great question. We don't actually do that specific type of research at our preserve. That would be a very interesting research project for a potential graduate student, if you know anyone. But I would love to know that myself.
Beth, are you volunteering? All right. Thank you, Sarah. All right, Matt. Matt has a good question here. And Pam, you and Sarah and I were just kind of briefly chatting about this earlier before the webinar. And he's asking, is the red tide around the Tampa area threatening the turtles more than normal?
It seemed like 3 years ago, we had more of our turtles on the beaches in our rehabs and being rescued. This year, it's hasn't been as bad, and our little baby sea turtles stay on top of the water, and they are swimming like the swim frenzy. They are swimming as fast as they can to get to the weed line. So we don't have very much trouble with the hatchlings.
Good deal. And Sarah, do you want to share anything on that as well?
We don't get the red tide effect the way that Pam does on the West Coast. We're on the East Coast. We have had some moments in time where it has affected our waters, but it's not as common of an occurrence for us.
I do know that in the Tampa Clearwater area, they've had a lot of fatalities with the turtles there, because I think that was right where a dump site was of a lot of the phosphates and fertilizer in an accident in March. So I think that along that coastal waters, it was pretty severe.
Sorry to hear that. Good question. Thank you, Matt. All right, Brandon. Hey, Brandon, what's up? Brandon's a friend of mine, y'all. He actually used to be my pet sitter. Brandon has a question for you, ladies, and he's asking, what oceans do sea turtles live in?
So, Sarah, do you want to go first?
Sorry, I missed the last part of that question. I'm sorry.
What oceans do sea turtles live in?
The sea turtles are, they're really, they're all over the place. They're in our Atlantic Ocean, our Pacific Ocean. They go up into very cold waters, all the way down into tropical waters. And I think that's something that there are a lot of really great researchers out there trying to better understand some of their migration patterns and key life moment patterns. There's different populations associated with different parts of different oceans. So for instance, our Loggerhead sea turtles that we have nesting from at Blowing Rocks Preserve are part of that Northwest Atlantic population, but there's different populations that will go to Africa or to, just different places and even different parts of North America. So where Pam's at, Pam might be receiving Loggerhead sea turtles that are part of a different population. So really there are ocean ambassadors in my mind, because they're all out there using different parts of our oceans.
And I know if you go to the Moat website, you could probably get specific details on all the tracking, because they do track several of the turtles. So they would know a lot of that information, exactly where they're going.
All right. Thank you, ladies. We've got a good question here from Jasmine, and she's asking, so you mentioned that the temperature determines the sex. Does that mean if it's cold, all the eggs will be one sex, aka cool daddies?
Well, I know what I've learned since I've been in Florida the last 5 summers is that the ground temperatures, it varies too, because of course the lower you get in your nest, it's cooler, a lot cooler. So the temperatures will vary, but I know scientists are very concerned with global warming, the warming of our Earth, and that the temperatures are rising, and that is something that we're real concerned about.
Thank you, Pam. Sarah, anything to add on to that one?
Yeah, just, I think that there's a lot of science right now trying to better understand how sea turtles and other types of wildlife are going to respond to climate change. And are they going to adapt? Or are we going to see, populations really decline because of this sort of thing? Right now, there's a lot of really great conservation conservation work that's being put into protecting habitat, and a lot of sea turtle Nesting is really up, but does that really mean that our sea turtle population, nesting doesn't necessarily correlate to population increases? And what does that population look like? Is it a healthy population? And with climate change, it's really hard to say if sea turtles will adapt or not. So I think there's a lot of really good science and research that's happening now to try to better understand some of that, but it's not something that I think we can say we have the answers to just yet, which is why we need to tackle climate change.
Thank you for sharing, ladies. Appreciate that insight. All right. We have another question here. And Connie, if I'm saying that correctly, do you end up rescuing other sea creatures while you're looking out for turtles? Good question.
Well, as far as rescuing, I know we have to be real aware of the plovers, the little birds that are on our beaches, and they're also endangered, so they have their space. So we have to be real aware of them. But I know at Moat they rescue all sorts of animals there, but the main thing are the turtles, because that's when I'm here during the turtle season. But during this red tide that we've had this last month, I know we've lost a lot of the things that live on the bottom, the marine life on the bottom of the ocean. We have washed up eels that I've never seen before, and a lot of our beautiful different variety of species of crabs. And we did this Monday on our turtle patrol, we had a couple of the seagulls that were dead on the beach.
Wow. Goodness. That must be difficult to see.
Yeah.
Sarah, do you have anything to add?
I think Pam had a pretty good answer to that one.
All right. Ladies, this is our last question from our buddy Brandon. How do hurricanes affect the sea turtles?
I think sea turtles have really adapted with hurricanes. And so you can see that even in the way that they nest. So for instance, at Blowing Rocks Preserve, our green sea turtles nest a little bit later in the season, which is typically, higher correlated with hurricane season for us. And they nest further up on the beach. They'll go up way up into the dunes, whereas some of our, leatherback and loggerhead sea turtles, they may not nest so high up into the beach. And I think that might be an adaptation to, some of the hurricane conditions that we get later in the season. So I think that they're pretty resilient, and there are a lot of really great, researchers out there who are researching that kind of thing and have radio telemetry, like the Leatherback, Florida Leatherback group, tracking the movements of turtles and their patterns, their movements in the ocean. So there's some really, really cool stuff investigating that sort of thing. But just observationally, I mean, I do think that they've adapted over time with hurricane conditions.
And that's what we've seen too. It seems like the nests are further up, close to the vegetation lines. And so they adapt pretty well. It seems like the problem we've had, though, like after Elsa, many of our turtles that came in very shallow on the land, a lot of those nests have washed out. And some will survive and some won't make it. If the eggs will float out into the ocean, those will never make it. But, we have washovers too.
And that in itself too is kind of adaptation. A turtle will nest, sometimes several times in a season and hundreds of eggs, at a time, knowing full well that, well, I don't know if they really know it, but they have adapted to really have a lot of tries out there so that, hopefully some of them will make it.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for not just sharing your time with us today, but also for all the work that you've done to help our sea turtle friends and other creatures out there, other marine life, continuing to help create healthy habitat so that our sea turtle friends have a safe place to lay their eggs and reproduce. So thank you for all of your hard work and for sharing your stories with us today. That does conclude our 16th episode of the Nature Connects Us webinar series. Pam and Sarah, thank you both so much for joining us. And for everybody on the other end of this screen, thank you all for joining us as well. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to share what other Oklahomans and what other folks are doing out there throughout the world and beyond our Oklahoma boundaries to help in regards to conservation and saving wildlife. It's been incredible adventure to be a part of these stories and to share them with you all. So thank you, everyone. And that concludes our session today. We will send out a follow-up email with the recording in case you want to share with anyone, and also with some additional links. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.